My name is Layth Sabbagh. My graduation year is 2018 and I'm a sophomore right now. I'm in the Muslim Student Association in Incite Newsroom, which was previously the P.S.S.U Student Union. My freshman year at Logjam, I went to the P.S.S.U table, and that really, the social justice activism that the P.S.S.U did that year impacted me enough to, and a lot of that was realizing my own positionality within Black Student Union and realizing that every group needs a space. So the idea was that an idea for there to be a space where activism can take place and where students of color can be involved but still have identity-based groups to have that as a space for community, a space for just students to be. We held a summit at the beginning to look over the charter and just have an open that to the community to see what students wanted from something like a union. And then looked over that and drafted that, and that idea came from race and pedagogy, having since when they started, first thing they did through the community, through the Black Collective. And so that was definitely yep, that makes sense, this is where you start on the ground. We wanted to is if identity-based groups were holding events or doing something, we'd be able to supply labor. Okay, we want to help organize stuff for what's it called, poster making, things like that, because we had to accumulate. We got some resources too. And I think that's in terms of Incite growing out of that, that's where it was okay, there's a purpose to have, social media is prevalent as it is. It takes effort to go and put stuff online and document stuff, and that's something we figured there needs to be visibility. And there needs to be a record of stuff like that somewhere, and so through the photos and through the videos we were able to maintain some record, and then that later grew up into Incite. I think the way at least I'd like to see Incite progress, and what I think Incite does, is it lays those seeds for future sedition. It's, we're sitting around now and we're opening up a space to criticize that hasn't been around before, to make people angry, to incite people. And when there is that constant push, if the Incite Newsroom is able to stay 10 years, then hopefully organizations and other activist groups on campus cannot have that brain drain occur every 4 years, that turnover. But when there's something that's a constant reminder that, hey, this is still going on, this is still going on, this is still going on. Sometimes it takes grievances, an event, to take, like Mizzou with ACE, it makes those grievances easier to mobilize around when you've been thinking about them already. When, for instance, last semester somebody was tased by Tacoma Police Department, the fact that there wasn't much of a buzz around that is ridiculous, and we've just written an article about security services and their interest in tasers. And ideally, let's say we had been talking about this before, and now that we've talked about it, if something else happens like that, we're ready. Campus is aware that stuff like this is happening. I'd like to see it a space for theorizing around stuff like that, to, these are the jumping points. There needs to be a space for students to write and think about these things. And if there's students that are interested, they know, and we make sure that they know if they're interested in being involved in Incite. Part of the interview process has been that we give them an article, one by Audre Lorde, one by Toni Morrison, and an article by Hamid Dabashi. So one of post-colonialism, intersectionality, and that and we had 4 applicants, and 2 of them left. 2 of them decided not to continue. And that's fine. And I think that's absolutely okay, and that demonstrates that that ideally we'd be able to keep that sort of that line of saying, no, we don't need the police department, we don't need security, by having these types of voices and these types of ideas, and people who are invested in that, and not wishy-washy liberals who are, you know, on the fence about things like that. No, there is liberation, or there's half-assing, and half-assing doesn't do it.